Hi, this is Chris and Jakub, and today we're going to speak about two very popular web frameworks, Astro and Next.js. We have several areas where we're going to discuss the differences. First would be around architecture, second about building and deployment options, third is developer experience, and the last one is business considerations. Okay, Jakub, so please list some main differences in terms of architecture and performance of those frameworks.
Mhm. So architecture is different in Astro because it allows you to select any framework, any UI library you want. So it's framework agnostic, which is for some of people huge advantage. For some, it's not. It also has a zero JS by default approach. So it will allow you to. It forces you to follow the mindset where your code will be not executed on the client. So by this, it increases the performance of your website by a lot because there is no hydration process, which is the huge disadvantage in terms of performance. And Next.js is like more React oriented. It forces you to use React inside of it, and it also adding the React into the bundle, let's say. So the performance will be a little worse, but it's not like it's a huge difference. It's more like a few points in, let's say, Core Web Vitals or something like that. Additionally, in Next.js, you can do something similar to Astro with these server components. So there will be also no hydration on the client side. So it will also have positive impact on the performance. So yeah, that's the most important thing.
Okay, thanks. When I hear about Next.js and Astro and in terms of architecture, I hear a lot Astro islands. Can you describe this concept?
Yeah, so in Next.js, the components are hydrated into the DOM. So it's like injecting the logic into the client. So the page is becoming interactive. In Astro, they call it islands. So the specific selected code will be hydrated in the client only if you specify it in the code. So by default, there is no code on the client, and you need to specify which islands will be hydrated in your client.
Yeah, and
so it reduces the amount of JS executed on the client by a lot.
Okay, so if I compare that to Next.js, I can describe it like that. So let's imagine we have printed newspaper. So in Astro, I can print the newspaper and can have it in a paper form, and I can have some digital displays as a part of the newspaper. So I can have the headings that are printed, and I can have embedded parts that needs to be dynamically rendered. And if I think about Next.js, I have whole digital screen. So it needs to bootstrap because it needs to start working, and then I have visible contents. In Astro, only some parts can be interactive, and other can be just static, like on the paper.
Kind of, but not exactly, because in Next.js you will also have like a paper newspaper, but once the page is initialized, then it's becoming a digital screen. So it's like a maybe more close to a Kindle or something like that, where you open up, you see what you've left on, let's say, like a paper. But if you interact with that, it loads something in the background and it becomes interactive.
Okay, cool. Thanks for clarification. Okay, so please tell me more about building and deployment options. As I understand, Next.js would be more around Vercel, and Astro probably some more options, but we know that Netlify recently started to support Astro, so maybe this is also heading into Netlify way.
Yeah, so with Next.js, it's like very recommended to go with Vercel because it supports a lot of extra functionalities out of the box. It's much harder to self-host the Next.js application outside of Vercel because you need to set up all of these extra tools to work, like edge networks, etc. And Astro is more limited to those extra tools. I mean, by default, probably you can do the same things if you put some Docker containers, etc. But it's by default very simple, so you can host it anywhere where you can just run the server in the background or proceed with the build time. So yeah, Astro is more flexible in these terms and easier to deploy somewhere else than Vercel. Yeah, for example, in Next.js, we have incremental static regeneration, which probably, if you go out of Vercel, you need to implement some extra code to make it work correctly. Astro is more like just running the server in the background and everything should work out of the box. So you just need any provider that allow you to set up a server in the background. If you build the Astro page, probably you can also host it somewhere on the static hosting, but I'm not sure if your page is that simple. And also it misses the, you will need extra CI/CD process to make it up to date in these steps. In terms of building, it's probably the same. You can either build the website during the build process, so it will be a static page, or you can have a server in the background for your server side things.
Okay, so I understand that Next.js has a lot of rendering methods. You can render the page in several ways. In Astro, you have less ways to do that, and because Next.js is more sophisticated, it also requires some more hosting integration. So that's why Vercel is a good option here. On the other side, Astro is less complicated in terms of building and hosting, and you can host it almost everywhere. Also because of this different approach to building and rendering, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, good. Please challenge my thinking, because I want to make sure.
The simplest term is like Astro is just creating a simpler output, and they don't require a lot of functionalities. Also, Next.js is, because it's more complex, people are using more complex things, features of Next.js, and they require you to do some extra setup on your hosting. So that's the difference.
Okay, and I think we're smoothly switching into developer experience, because we started discussing complexity of both frameworks. So Jakub, how it looks in terms of developer experience and learning curve?
So developer experience in Astro, Astro is very simple in these terms. It's like a linear approach, and in Next.js we have a lot of things going on. Like we need to select a routing option if we are going with app router or page router. Then we need to decide all of the pages. I mean, with new versions, it's server side by default, but you still need to manage if it will be static, if it will be served on every request, if you need to cache it, etc. It's a lot of things going on and a lot of knowledge that you need to know to proceed with the project. So the entry level is smaller in Astro, and Next.js has said like you need to spend a lot of time to be able to like develop something in Next.js. But if you will, your abilities to create like huge products, a lot of features is better. So, and there's also no binding to React in Astro. So if your team doesn't know React, you can still proceed with Astro. In Next.js, React is like a base, so you need some React background first to be able to proceed with that. The documentation is okay for both of them, so I think they're okay. But yeah, I would say that Next.js is much more complex and is getting more complex with each new release. When Astro is like more linear approach and more simple, more like beginners friendly, let's say.
Okay. Okay.
So
Can you tell me?
probably that's why it's getting like a lot of popularity during the initial phase, like during the launch. There is a lot of people who like that, and there are still people who like that, and it's good because it's a good framework. But yeah, mostly because of the simplicity.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you mentioned this this hype when new framework is released. It's changing developers' lives and etc. And and Next.js is longer on the market. So my question is Astro architecture prepared in a way that it will be still easy to learn and to get started with this framework, or when it will be more mature like Next.js, it will have the same problems like Next.js because we have more and more features, big updates, etc.
It's a hard question. I believe that if Astro will still follow the main rules and the goals why they created Astro, it should still be simple and effective. If they will choose the way to follow the giants like Next.js, they will become more complex as Next.js is. It's like they've built Astro for a specific reason, and if they will extend this, like not reason, but their goal, like adding new features, then by just doing that, it's getting more complex and more, complex mainly, and harder to learn because there will be more things to learn.
Okay, understand. Also, when I'm checking both websites, I mean Astro documentation and Next.js documentation, I see that Astro has a different vibe. It has like it's like vibrant. It's open. It's more playful. But when I go to Next.js website, it's more strict, more enterprise focused. So I think there's also a difference how those brands are communicating. And I think Next.js documentation is more technical, more theory about around the concepts, because the concepts are very complicated, and Astro looks more practical. Do you have similar impressions?
For Next.js, definitely yes. It's like very technical, a lot of information, a lot of charts, diagrams that tells you why something works this way or how you can implement some things. A lot of properties, descriptions, etc. But it's well arranged, so it's easy to find things there. For Astro, there's also easy to find things. I believe maybe because they don't have so many features, it's easier for them to go with this practical approach. And but Astro documentation is more user friendly. But Next.js documentation is more, it looks more professional, let's say. like the people who use it needs a lot of knowledge, etc. So yeah. And for
Okay.
Astro, you need a specific use case. So yeah, I agree with you.
Okay, cool. So the next part of this conversation is about business considerations. So I think we started discussing that a bit because I see that Next.js is targeting at the whole Vercel. We started getting more SMBs and enterprise companies. I'm not sure who is targeted by Astro, but I think mainly developers from maybe smaller teams, or maybe I would say that Next.js is targeting big SMBs and enterprise companies, and Astro is targeting small teams or individuals. What do you think?
I'm not sure if I can agree to that, because Astro, for me, Astro is more like oriented on specific applications. For me, Astro is like a great choice for content-based things, and Next.js is for application-based, where you have a lot of integrations, a lot of activity, so users will become active with your page, not just reading some content or something like that. Where Astro is great because there's Node.js attitude means that your page won't be interactive. So their target is different, but I wouldn't say that it's a smaller company because they also need pages that are static, like blog pages or marketing pages or anything like that. So
Okay.
yeah. But
okay, so you mean that it doesn't matter what kind the company is. It matters what kind of projects there is or on the plate. So sometimes
exactly.
it's like a brochure website or a blog or something like that, and sometimes it's a big digital publishing platform with several editors commenting features, things after login, subscriptions, paywall, and etc. Right?
Exactly.
Okay, so what other business considerations we should compare?
Definitely the team, like how easy it is to find a team that can handle your project. And as Next.js is older, there is more developers that knows Next.js, but also Next.js is more complex, so you won't find like junior Next.js developers. In my opinion, they should start from like mid-level, even senior level ones. For Astro, you have more flexibility because it's not React oriented, so you can find any developer that knows like Angular, React, Vue, or any framework you will choose, and quickly adapt the Astro. So it depends if you need some professionalist or not. You can, like for Astro, you can build a team from people who doesn't know Astro too well, and in Next.js you need this expertise to start working with. So that's a big factor. The hosting, which is something that we've already mentioned before, but yeah, for Astro seems to be easier to host on any platform you want and any ecosystem that you have. In terms of costs, it's also like because Astro is simpler and you can host it anywhere you want, it seems to be cheaper, but it's also depends on your project. If a project has like millions of pages, it can't be cheap, right? It will have a lot of users that will visit you, and it has to be scalable, etc. They're both scalable, so it's great. In terms of SEO, they're both great because they provide you with this server things, like either it will be generated, static site generated, or server side generated. They are both great at SEO. In terms of migrating from other frameworks, it depends. If your project is like fulfilling all of the criteria or all of the functionalities that this framework can do, then both of them are great. But Astro, because it's simpler, it's easier to migrate to. Next.js is like you need to make a lot of decisions behind before you start your migration process to plan it correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And also for like long-term maintainability, I believe Next is already a few years on the market, so it's like a more stable pick. Astro is great, it's trending, but it's still fresh, let's say. So there's always a risk that it will be not supported in like 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. I would add to that the aspects of costing. So I think with Astro you can have more predictable hosting costs. Also in Next.js and Vercel, sometimes it's a bit blurry to understand how much you're going to pay, especially with different caching methods and things oriented with uprooter. So in Astro, it might be more easy to predict. And I'm thinking about the maintenance. So Astro is a smaller framework, so I guess updating the framework also would be easier than updating Next.js. We see that, yeah, for example, Next.js released Next.js 15 with React 19 before official React 19 release. I don't know how it's in Astro. Yeah, but I think in general, maintaining smaller framework is easier than maintaining a big machine.
Yeah, there's no easy answer. It depends. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
if how long the maintenance will be. Like if we consider like months from the release or years from the release, are we going talking about like adding new features or just fixing some bugs?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, updating versions. Yeah, currently I believe that Astro is easier with like updating versions.
Mm-hmm.
In Next.js, there's a lot of changes between those major versions, so they have tools that helps you with updating. But if your application is complex and is using a lot of like libraries like that are
Mm-hmm.
not ready for your new Next.js version, then you may have some issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you are using maybe some tools that for testing, let's say, that can not be like don't have backward compatibility in the
Mm-hmm.
Next.js version. So
Okay, great. Okay, thanks, Jakub, for this conversation. Maybe my last question, tricky question. In 2 sentences, what are the main differences between Next and Astro?
main differences, the approach. So as I mentioned at the beginning, Astro is by default promoting the Node.js on the client side attitude, and that's something that is adapting in Next.js now, but they started this trend, let's say. And in the second one will be probably the framework agnostic thing that
Okay.
you in Next.js you are bounded to React, and in Astro you have the flexibility.
Okay. Very good. Very good. So yeah, my perspective on those framework is like when you have a fresh and pretty small project with a lot of static contents, and most of your users are going to see the same content, maybe Astro is the better option. If you have complex system of multiple services, multiple business areas, and you need to personalize content per user or per individual user or per user groups, and when you're building a long-term project with a bigger team, then maybe Next.js is a better option. Yeah, so this is how it looks from our perspective. And this is all for today. If you have any questions about Next.js and Astro, please feel free to reach out to us, and we're happy to jump on the call and help you decide which framework is better for you. Thank you, Jakub, for today. Do you want
Thank
to
you, Chris.
say cheers to anyone or something on the
Yeah, cheers to everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.